Hi, we have to talk. And again, to be honest, I didn't want to talk about this too much because initially when I heard notices about this or heard stories about this, and whenever you hear stories about summoning and luck and gacha and how unlucky you are, it always usually ends up being moot because it's anecdotal and no one really, oh, my account is so unlucky. Oh my goodness. It feels bad. I understand that. But most of the time, that's just fate. It's not like someone is working against you. It's just probability. And unfortunately, although it sounded like that would be the case for something that was being experienced by a lot of players, actually, Smallgate has come out and said that they messed up. There was an ongoing issue with the premium Moonlight Summon event where people were actually receiving similar pull patterns. And specifically what's mentioned here is that although the rates were still working fine, which is of course great because it's not like you are having less of a chance to get specific characters, certain people were getting pulls at the same frequency or with the same pattern or pulling the same characters as other players, which does sound kind of suspicious. Now, again, the main reason why this was a concern for anyone is because if you're able to maybe replicate certain situations or being in a specific scenario, it may be the case that you can manipulate your odds or manipulate your account into a way or into a position so that you can get the pulls from or the pulls that another person has. Anecdotally, there's someone in my Discord that got 3 ML5s, and when it was first revealed that, some people were having, similar acquisition patterns using their own words, you could argue, or funnily enough and more jokingly, there were people that were like, well, if someone has gotten 3 ML5s and I want 3 ML5s, well, let me try and do everything that I can to replicate a scenario or be in the same position or do everything that someone else has in order to have a higher chance of getting, 3 ML5 stars. The issue with that is that, as far as I could tell, there is no way to actually replicate it, and the exact circumstances of which this was ending up happening are not super well known. It kind of just seemed like it happened, and some people were getting the same, again, set of characters in a row as other players, but thankfully, Smallgate, not even, 2 or 3 days into the event, are basically compensating for this. Truth be told, guys, this isn't the same as someone losing out on an ML5. This isn't the dodge, or is not the dodge, the counter rate fiasco where people were complaining that dodge seemed, or counter seemed way higher, and it ended up being that, it wasn't 20% and 30%, which is something that happened in the past. This was people just randomly having similar pull patterns, which again, I do think is a little bit suspicious, and it was something that should definitely get fixed, so so that no one can kind of manipulate their odds or manipulate scenarios so that they can get a similar pull pattern, which again is manipulating and basically bug abusing. But as far as I could tell, there was no way to actually replicate these things, and there was no way to physically force your pull seed or pull pattern to be the same as someone else's. Again, I haven't seen anything that suggests otherwise. But again, it is nice that Smallgate decided to compensate with 50 additional pulls, which is really nice because, truth be told, guys, again, this doesn't really change anything about what your pulls were. If you were going to get 5 stars, you were going to get 5 stars. If you're going to get 4 stars, you're going to get 4 stars. If you're going to get 3 stars, you're going to get 3 stars. This doesn't really, again, change anything in terms of what you have. And until they say specifically, or unless if they reveal in a further update that, hey guys, some people were manipulating the odds or people were adjusting and now they're going to take away Moonlight Summons from someone. It's not going to happen, by the way, since again, it doesn't seem that to be the case. This is just a satisfying ending, which is, well, yeah, I guess Smallgate is willing to admit that, or has admitted that something went wrong, and they very quickly, again, fixed their issue. And for most players who don't really care about whether or not they got the same pulls as someone else, this is just an additional 50 summons, which, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I've been getting pretty good ML4s from this event. And if you're a new player, well, hey, congratulations. You got 50 free additional pulls for basically doing nothing. And it doesn't affect you in any way. Now, again, I do want to mention about this because this has all, this does have a few implications towards this, which is number one, it kind of shows that Smilegate does not go without bugs, or it does not have bugs. And although, yeah, okay, things like the tilting of characters, you know, in arena or stuff, or depending on certain characters, although bugs exist, essentially, this is a reminder to all you and for the general player base that, hey, look, like, if you do notice something a little bit off, don't raise the alarms. We're not we're not in a nuclear fallout. However, keep in mind that, yeah, like, sometimes if something seems off, maybe it's worth reporting, or maybe it's, you know, worth mentioning or suggesting to other people. Because when I first honestly heard about this, and when people first heard about, oh, well, like, my pulls were so similar to someone else, many, and I mean so many people, wrote off this as being absolutely, like, you know, anecdotal. Like I mentioned earlier, it's just someone, like, you know, whining and complaining with no real, like, basis or foundation for what they're talking about. But guess what? This ended up being the case. And therefore, if you want changes like this to happen, and this is kind of just a PSA and a disclaimer for you guys, if you want changes to happen to the game, if you care about the game and you see stuff like this happening, it is worth, again, documenting what things look like bugs, or documenting what things look like exploits, and letting your fellow community managers, or your community members, or even content creators, whoever you want, like, inform people about what you're seeing, or, you know, issues that you might be, I guess, experiencing, so that we can bring it up to Smilegate. Because as we're seeing right here, the pulls were similar, and guess what? We're getting 50% more pulls, which is, again, really nice. In any case, though, guys, again, that's basically all I had to talk about. It's not that crazy of a thing. I know this is a bit stretched, but I just wanted to remind you guys that, hey, look, you know, people mess up and they're willing to compensate. So do your part. I'll do my part as well. Thank you again for watching, though, guys. I didn't want to mention, or, you know, bring this up until it was confirmed. I know this has been floating around the community for a little bit already, but thanks again for watching. Thanks again for all the support for the most recent patches and the patch notes review and stuff. And yeah, I love you guys. I will see you guys all next time. Stay safe, stay healthy. Good night.